Hello, my name is Samuel George London, and welcome to Comics for the Apocalypse. On today's episode, I speak to the terrific creative duo behind the Legend of Val, Kimberly Fountain and Emily Chapman, about what comics they take into the apocalypse. But before we get into it, I'd like to remind everyone that we have a Reddit community where you can discuss guest answers with other listeners and even post your own comics for the apocalypse. You can check that out at reddit.com/r/comics apocalypse. Finally, if you do enjoy the show today, please leave a review for us on iTunes or whichever podcast service you use, as not only will it let me know that you liked it, but I believe that it helps others become aware of the show as well. Now, without further ado, on with the show. Hello, Kimberly Fountain and Emily Clapham. How are you doing?
Hey!
Good. Hello. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. You guys?
Great. Ready. Raring.
Oh yeah, raring to go.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. It's kind of bringing some energy to comics for the apocalypse, because you're going to need it, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But before we kind of get into all of that, for anybody that doesn't know who you both are, what do you both do in the world of comics?
Well, together we write a webcomic called The Legend of Val, and we are currently writing a new one, which
Ooh.
hasn't got a name yet, but it's fun. So we like to create together. We do the writing together, and Kim, does all the artwork for The Legend of Val.
Yeah. Kim is the real comic artiste, and I help to bounce ideas around and work on the script and the plot.
Yes!
Amazing.
Yeah.
And when can we expect that new project?
Well, hopefully we're going to get a pitch ready in a few months, and then we'll see, because we want to see if we can get it published by people who aren't me.
Yeah. Taking it on a very exciting angle this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's gonna be good.
awesome. Well, good luck with that. Keep us updated. But where can people find the Legend of Val?
At thelegendofval.com. Got a pen? Right.
Write it down
Write
and
that
then
down, everyone.
punch it into your web browser and press left click and
Right
then
now.
scroll down and then
And two favourites.
now the Legend of Val is brilliant. But I only became aware of it about a month ago, because you were one of the choices on our very first episode with Sarah Millman for her funniest comic, and it is absolutely hilarious. So
you.
well done on creating an amazingly funny and fun adventure.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to hear. We were saying Sarah should do our PR, because
Yeah.
we think after years she summed it up better than we ever have.
It was such a nice surprise. Yeah. Yeah, she did. She sold it very well.
Fantastic. Yeah, she did. And, well, rightly so as well. So everybody should definitely check out The Legend of Val at thelegendofval.com. So, firstly, thanks for coming on Comics for the Apocalypse. It's great to have you here. But I've got some bad news.
No.
There's been a zombie outbreak.
Oh,
Okay.
it could have been a worse option.
Yeah.
It's my least favourite kind of thing. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So, my first question is, what's your action plan with the zombie outbreak?
All right. Well, we think the best scenario for us would be to avoid the zombies. So Emily came up with a plan.
Yeah. The plan is to get on a submarine. Because have you ever
Bingo.
seen a zombie diving? I certainly haven't.
I don't think they're PADI certified.
No.
I would have thought so.
And I think if you really want to get into a submarine, you can do it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's a big round door.
You've just got to want it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, this is a genius strategy. Not only because I don't know if you've ever seen Fear the Walking Dead, which is kind of it's the spin-off for The Walking Dead, and it's based in LA and about some survivors from LA, and kind of within the first season they end up on boats basically. However, they still kind of have zombies that wash up onto the boats, because zombies will still live and they'll kind of float on the surface. But if you have a submarine, then that's very smart. You're not going to encounter that problem.
Yeah, they're just going to sort of dissolve, aren't they?
Yeah, like
skin kind of just sort of falls apart, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're just puffing gas. They're going to float.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe anyone who's been taken out by the mob will have a chance at getting on the submarine because they've been concreted. Otherwise, I think we'll be okay. And if anyone zombies do get on the submarine, we can just jettison them out with like the waste.
Yeah, with the waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
What a glorious apocalypse this is going to be.
Yeah, in the torpedo shoots, zombie torpedoes.
Yeah. We just need to learn what all the buttons do.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
Yeah, there's probably a manual on board. We also had the idea, like, long-term goals would be to repopulate, but it's just going to be me and Emily. So our idea was, first we have to break up with our boyfriends.
We quickly realised that they weren't in our plan at all. So
they weren't.
First thing we do, ditch the boyfriends, get in a submarine.
Dead weight. But every time we come to the surface, we're going to just collect some orphans, and then we'll repopulate that way. So we're going to have an orphanage submarine. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd hear that.
It's a responsible thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Brilliant. And then at the end of this interview, we're going to find out what weapons you're going to use, but we'll keep that until the end for now. Yeah, totally. So whilst you're on this submarine, there's just one night that you're both kind of particularly bored, and you start discussing comics, and the first question that comes up between both of you is what's the first comic you remember enjoying?
Well, we're joining the club, the Beano Club.
Oh, yeah.
We're both part of that club. Yeah, both of our answers.
I was listening to the episode with Dan Butcher, and he mentioned his brother was in the fan club. So was I. I had the badges and the little card that you put in the wallet you don't own as a child.
I love child wallets.
Yeah.
Completely pointless, right?
That's good.
So we're all there. For me, it's this very specific issue. I don't know if you saw. I sent a link to it.
You did, yeah.
This really specific one, which was like a special about football. I don't even like football, but it was done by this specific artist. And I guess as a 9-year-old, it was like the first time I maybe saw comics for what they could be, rather than like just boring. I just get this every week when Mum goes shopping. So that was really the best one I remember.
That jumped out at you. And what was it about that football storyline that kind of jumped out at you?
Wow, it was like a crossover event. All the characters were together. Very exciting. And then it was done by one artist instead of being divvied up by, like, each artist had their own comic strip. But this was all given to this guy who was quite new to the Beano at the time, I think. I mean, I was 9. I'm not an authority on that. Because I think after this, he shortly ended up taking over the Bash Street Kids strip permanently. But the artist was really good. I really enjoyed that. They're very much more... do you remember the Beano being, like, artwork quite grotesque?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
know what you
do.
mean. Kind of like Ren and
Yeah.
Stimpy or something.
Yeah.
And this one was a bit more pleasing to me. And
Less fluids or something.
yeah, and it's got a bit more, less bodily fluid, but more fluid line work. It's got a lot more in common with, I guess, like newspaper strips and ink. I don't know.
It
I
just really
preferred-
kind of attracted you and kind of like made you feel less uneasy.
Yeah. All this time before reading the Beano, joining the fan club, like slightly disgusted, but not anymore.
The right kind of fluid. Yeah.
There's the right kind and there's the wrong kind.
Brilliant. And so going off of the back of the enjoyable memories of the Beano, the conversation flows on to what's the funniest or comic that made you laugh out loud the most?
Well, mine is Viz. That is the first comic, kind of in the same first comic kind of area, but that was
Sure.
the first comic that I ever sort of picked up, and it's just so naughty.
Oh,
I remember being so my first introduction to it, we were on a really long car journey, me and my mum, dad and brother, and I would have been about 10 or something at the time, and my dad had picked up a copy of the Viz, which he loves, considering that, so basically the Viz, for anyone that might not know, is a comic that started, I think it was 1979. I did a little research on this, but I wasn't 100% sure. And it was started by this guy up in Newcastle, and it's just really crude, satirical kind of comic strips, and also lots of kind of fake news kind of thing. Not fake news, if you know what I mean, but it's just made up stuff, just basically
That sounds
making
like
fun
fake
of it.
news.
Yeah.
In its original concept.
In its original concept, yeah, before it turned to something more sinister. And it's got brilliant little comic strips, so with really mad names like Timothy Potter, Train Spotter. They're doing a whole comic of somebody's name that rhymes with something. Or another good one was Roger Melly, the man on the telly. It's just a man who wouldn't stop swearing when he was being recorded.
This explains so much about you, Emma.
I know. Yeah, also, it did it got a little bit edgy, with things like
Do you mean
Sid the
sexist?
Totally. But taking the piss, if you know what I mean. So Sid the Sexist. There was one, what else was there? Oh, there's a really good little strip they do. Sorry, it's a bit rude. Up the Arse Corner, which is just a little bit of basically gathering photos of people who look like something's going on their arse. That's so crude, but it was so funny. And just hearing my dad reading these things out and him just choking because he was laughing so much. And yeah, for me, that's the funniest thing that I remember reading in the comic.
It's very very perfectly Viz. You reading it with your dad in a car. I know. Oh, the other thing that they love is, I think Sid the Sexist, he's Geordie, and quite a few of the characters are Geordies, and both both sides of my family are from the northeast, so they totally connect with it. And a lot of the characters are based off working class people as well. It's just really gritty, really fun, really rude humour, which is really refreshing as well, I have to say. Yeah, love it.
Oh, absolutely. Viz is iconic.
Yeah,
Really, isn't it? It's a British institution, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then what about you, Kim?
Well, I picked the Kate Beaton collections, like her Hark a Vagrant book and Step Aside Pops, because one of the first webcomics I found, and I remember finding them really funny. I was rereading them last night,
Great.
and I said to my boyfriend, I was like, I think this is the first thing I ever bought online, which is also weird. I was raised in a very not internet household, and when we did get it, we were all just kind of frightened of it.
What is this evil?
Yeah. I looked at the publishing date, and it came out in 2011, so I'd have been like 21. I should have bought something before then, right? But I just didn't.
Oh,
Wow, that's incredible. And then are there any particular stories in that kind of jump out at you as to, a particular moment where you thought
I
that's
finally
brilliant, or
say-
like actually made you laugh out loud?
Oh, right. Tons. What was I reading when I was going through it? There was one, it's a really small throwaway joke. It's 4 panels, and it's like about Handel playing music in a bar, and one of the hecklers just shouts, "Play some goddamn Billy Joel!" And I said again to my boyfriend, I was like, "Now you know why I always say that."
Right,
In no context, like that had a huge impact on me.
great.
I say it anytime anyone mentions Billy Joel or music.
I'm going to listen out for that from now on.
Have you not noticed it before?
I just accept things that you say. Okay.
Right, well, now you know why, everyone.
Bingo. So if we're ever like in a 50s diner and Billy Joel comes on,
Absolutely.
you'll be shouting across the
like,
diner.
Billy Joel, one of my key karaoke songs.
Nice.
I had to knock it out after shouting that at myself. And then,
Any particular Billy Joel song?
We Didn't Start the Fire. I like showing off how many
Classic.
words I can remember.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, the
yeah,
first
yeah,
time
yeah.
that I did karaoke, I tried to do Man in the Mirror.
Oh,
Right.
very moving.
Don't ever try to do Man in the Mirror unless you're like professional, because it is an exceedingly difficult song. It is also about 5.5 minutes long.
Those
And
are
if
the
it's your
best
first
ones.
time, and kind of there's towards the end, kind of he actually sings really quickly, and
Yeah.
it's really complicated, and it's like, well, this was really a bad choice. I should have just done, We Are the Champions or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. Everyone
yeah,
joins
just-
in with that one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to do that
a
alone.
classic.
At what
Yeah.
point of Man in the Mirror did you start to kind of fall behind a bit? What was
About
the turning
quarter
point
of the
in that
way
one?
through.
Yeah.
About a quarter of the way through, I was like, this was a bad choice.
That first quarter, you were the most confident you've ever been.
Oh yeah,
I
I was rocking it
Feeling.
because it was in New Zealand, right? And I used to be a snowboard instructor.
Uh-huh.
And we used to do this thing called karaoke. So we'd kind of all the instructors would have like a curry together, like 40 of us, and then we'd go over to the karaoke bar. And I was like, right, I love Man in the Mirror, so I'm gonna do Man in the Mirror. And then it just fell on my face. So
But
Oh, no.
everyone will remember you.
exactly, that's the main thing. But you live and learn. You live and learn. And talk about upsetting moments in my life. The next question
Yeah.
that comes up in your conversation is what's the saddest or most upsetting comic that you've read?
I didn't have an answer for this one. Emily,
Oh, I
Yeah.
do.
story.
Mine's really dark. I'll never forget this. All right, so once again, we turn to Viz, I'm afraid. It's the last time I'll bring it up, but this is the comic strip that I was most disturbed by. So, having, read the Viz when I was quite young, I was at an airport about 10 years ago, so I would have been 19, and I saw there was a Viz comic there. I thought, oh, perfect, I'll pick that up. And I bought it, and I thought it'll be the same as many years ago. No, it wasn't. It was this. I don't know what's happened. It's so disturbing. At first, it was funny, right? Like jokes about the Queen. And then there was a comic strip about a guy who is in the woods, and he sees a couple who are dogging. And he just watches them, and there's a black dog there. And then after they finish doing their business, he kills the dog.
Oh my god!
Funny.
Whoa.
Like, what the hell? Couldn't believe it. It's the most upset I've ever been from reading comics.
It's like, wait, dogging, dog. I think I can see where this is going. Oh,
Oh no!
Yeah, exactly. Kind of thought. I don't know how that one got past. But it
maybe
did.
like it was really late to close to the deadline. The editor was on their back.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Didn't really know what to do with this setup.
I mean, of all the things, though.
Their dog just did a huge dump on the carpet.
You thought, I know how I get you back.
I'm just gonna murder it.
Yeah, there you go. Just end its life.
Yeah.
Wow, that is upsetting.
It is upsetting. Yeah. It took a while. It stayed with me. It really stayed with me, that one. I don't know what to do with it. Because I felt betrayed as well. I felt betrayed by
Yeah, there's like a textual reason there as well.
Yeah. Because it's like light-hearted, you know?
Like you had the warm memories of being in the car with your mum and dad, laughing and laughing.
And then
now you're on your own in an airport with this dead dog.
Yeah. I've been transported from one place to another. Oh, bad time.
Oh, that's terrible. And talking of terrible, the next question that comes up between the both of you is, what's the scariest or most horrifying comic that you've read?
I struggled with this one because, again, on Dan Butcher's episode, he was saying how there's so much more that goes into horror than just visuals. Like, I think I'm a very sonic person. I don't think I've ever been properly horrified from reading a novel or a comic in any way. But once I was listening to the radio and a relatively scary song came on, and I had to turn all the lights on and get out the bath and text my boyfriend, like, when are you coming home? What
was the song?
I don't know. You know, BBC Radio 6 after like 9 p.m. like play the really experimental stuff.
Yeah.
And it started out quite soothing, like it was just loads of soundscapes, and then it started becoming heavy breathing, and then it like was getting a bit spooky, and I was like, okay, songs don't last that long, I'll power through it. And then it started becoming screaming, and I was like, what's going on? Why is this on the radio? And it was dark and I was frightened, but I can read loads of really vicious stuff and I'm like, over.
So we'll put down weird Radio 6 music for your choice.
Somehow that's allowed.
Yeah, like I could make a comic about it in the future.
Yeah, there you go. That's some inspiration.
My horrifying time in the night. Emily has one about a comic one of our friends made.
Yeah.
But it's disturbing more than scary.
It's really disturbing. So, it is a book by our friend Sarjan Rai, and he did this little one called Birthday, and it's about. Actually, I know what, I've got it in my hand right now. I'm just going to read it out because it's the best way of getting across what it's about. You'll get the gist. It's super quick. I'll just read the first page. There's a guy who is dressed in like a escaped prison outfit, escaped prisoner.
I would say the Hamburglar.
Yeah, that's like the Hamburglar, right? Yeah. And he's approaching this guy with nice curtains. He's got a nice curtain hairdo. Anyway, this burglar guy is like, "Oi, is it your birthday?" The guy goes, "Oh, yes, happy birthday, mate." And then he shanks him with a knife. He's like, "How old are you, mate? How old?" And the guy's trying to say 39. And he just punches him in the face, going, "Dickhead," right? So I read this and it really made me laugh because I was like, I've met someone like this, like a really aggressive male who's like, "Oh, just joking." So it reminds me of a moment I had. So one of my many jobs has been working as a face painter, and I was at a place doing face painting, and this guy walks over, this bloke, and he's got this little sort of 5-year-old kid with him, and the kid wanted to be Batman, and immediately the guy, he's like, "Oh, all right then, so can I have a discount then?" I was like, well, it's not really up to me to do discounts. And he's like, "Oh, all right then." And then as I was doing the Batman face paint, the kid started to cry, so sometimes I just get a bit overwhelmed. So then, his tears of like melted Batman off his face. And I said, "Oh, don't worry, I won't charge you the full amount," because he wasn't going to let me finish the job. So it was like a half-done Batman. And this guy just goes, "I thought you said that wasn't up to you." Really awkward silence, and his eyes just started to pop out of his head, and then he just went, "Only joking." And then just as we were finishing, I was like, "Oh, that'll be like £6, please." And he had the money in his hand, and then he just went, "So, because you made my nephew cry, how about I get it for free?" And then there was this awkward silence, and then he just goes, "Only joking." The money man. I was like, "This is the guy. This is the guy from the comic strip." And yeah,
Did it disturb you because you were like, how did they know that this man is real?
it's just there are guys like that
It's
who
folkloric almost.
understand what a joke is. I think and say things and they go only joking, and it's really sinister.
Yeah, because this comic ends with the birthday boy dying and the Hamburglar being all right. Come on, I'm just having a laugh. And then he leaves.
Yeah, that's it. I find that quite disturbing.
So that could have been you, Emily.
Yeah, I know. I felt it. It was that those really tense few seconds between him saying, "Oh, am I going to get that free then?" and me going,
I'm thinking that we could maybe merge these two ideas together. Somehow, like your weird Radio 6 bath incident and this face painting incident.
This man at the window. I was only joking.
Oh my gosh, this is all horrifying stuff.
I'm writing all of it down.
Yeah, please do. Exclusive comics for the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And so to try and lighten the mood in the submarine, the next question that comes up is, what's the most meaningful comic to you?
Do you want to go first?
Do we have the same? Do we have the same?
No.
We don't. You changed it. All right. So mine is Battle Royale. The
manga
of Battle Royale. Because of the memories I have attached to that series. So we totally fell in love. Me and Kim read it together, and we totally fell in love with it because it was just so.
I don't know why.
Insane. No, me neither. But basically, I think what played part in it, we took a really big liking to one of the main characters. I cannot remember his name. He's sort of like a blokey character, and we really liked him. Yeah, he reminded us of what are they called, Gaz?
No.
Gaz. Oh, right. Anyway, he looked like a Gaz, and he
was
reminded
Japanese. I don't know what his name was.
He reminded us of the character from 2 Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps.
Which, coincidentally, is on Netflix now.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I was like,
I know what I'm doing. So we took a strong liking to it, and we loved it so much that we decided to film our own version of Battle Royale, where the two of us played all 45 characters, or however many it was.
Wow.
Which was a very long project, and we had so much fun doing it because me and Kim, we've always done films together. When we first started hanging out, we were constantly making really daft films or stop start
motion sort of
presentations on PowerPoint.
So in the 90s we didn't understand animation software, and I didn't have the internet, remember? So we used Microsoft PowerPoint to make animations.
Yeah, duplicate.
And we had a dictaphone because there was no audio recording equipment on our computer, so we just had to sync up this little tape cassette we had perfectly with the animation on PowerPoint.
Press go at the same time.
It didn't take off. There was no one begging for more.
Oh no! Well, my question is it on YouTube?
No.
You need to put it on YouTube. I want to see
Let me
this.
do it. So, Battle Royale, I think, is the single greatest thing that we've ever done. The Legend of Val. our version of Battle Royale, in my opinion, we do need to edit it down because we didn't have obviously any editing software, so we did the whole thing of stop-start on the actual camera recorder. So we do need to go over it and maybe chop it down a bit.
Have you read the manga of it?
I haven't. No. Obviously, I kind of saw the film back in the day and everything. I know I have taken a quick look at the manga, but I haven't fully read it.
Yeah, it's super violent. So we had a lot of fun recreating those scenes, food colouring.
Yes. So a really technically great scene was when you vomited blood. That looked great.
Wow.
And then a technically incompetent scene is in the manga. I don't think it's in the film because the film's not long enough. But in the manga, they do more about their life before they got to the island. And they were doing one bit where, in the film, the guy with the Uzi, the sort of fancy one who murders everyone and gets to the end. It was the main character, Shuya, remembering a PE lesson where the guy, he was called Kazuo, was he gouged out the PE teacher's eyes for some reason.
Yes.
And we were like, oh yeah, we'll film that. But we used a kiwi fruit cut in half as eyes. So then when the gouging, we could just squeeze them out onto the floor. But that presented a problem because now we didn't have arms. So we sellotaped fake hands to the ends of our elbows and squeezed the eyes out. But then we didn't want to make a mess on Emily's parents' floor. So this scene is very abstract where you come up with a thumb, stick it in a kiwi, and then squeeze it out onto a carrier bag. The end.
That's the solution. Because a kiwi cut in half does look a little bit like an eye. Think about it.
Yeah. Totally. I can see that. I can see that. Hey guys, I mean, you're just selling it more and more. I need to see this film. You should think about kickstarting it.
Yeah.
Because this is amazing.
Yeah. The thing is, we didn't finish it, so we got about three-quarters of the way through, and the last bit we'd need to film it, and nearly 30-year-olds.
Yeah. And the last bit we filmed, we were 18, 19, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big time jump. That'll be fun. But there's my issue of complete shame and embarrassment, and then secondly, it's on these really old cameras. We don't really know how to get it onto the computer. We'd have to find someone with equipment.
I have it on a CD.
Your dad put it on a CD?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, well, it's a shame, Emily. We don't have any CD players in my house.
Yeah. Not where there's a will. If I can get a submarine, I can edit that film.
Okay, so all our orphans will be lucky enough to see the film.
It'll be like training for them. How to kill people.
Exactly. And Emily, what was it about Battle Royale that was particularly meaningful for you?
I think it is. Yeah, it's just the memories of what we did from that manga. I think that's it. The comic itself, we just had a lot of fun reading it because it is so insanely grotesque, but it's so bad. It's kind of just funny, and we had a lot of fun reading.
Well, that's why Battle Royale is so good.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
God, yeah.
It's so edgy. It's too edgy. It's just it's good.
Yeah.
It's really sick. I feel like we read that before we watched the film. I don't know.
Right.
We watched it at your house, Emily. I'm sure I felt very disappointed by the film.
I was. I still am.
Not as meaty.
No, manga's way worse. Oh my god. Yeah.
There was a lot of stunning detail on the gore in the, and it's all really hyper real. Whereas in the film, it's just it's got color, but
yeah.
Well, it's early 2000s low budget horror basically.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I mean, what we didn't use any excuses. We managed to gore it up really well.
Exactly. The Kiwis, hyper realistic. Brilliant. And then for Kim, for you, which comic's most meaningful to you?
So it's another manga. I think again, like Sarah Millman was saying, it was quite rare to get hold of it when we were growing up, and a friend bought one in and gave it to me, and it was just the first time because I didn't read anything like Marvel or DC. It was exclusively like Beano and gag comics, and then someone hands me this, and it's like, wow, an ongoing story with drama and character growth and death and sex, and I was like 14, so I was like, whoa, this is mature. Now as an adult, it's really trashy romance. I see it for what it is, but it has a special place in my heart. So the storyline for that is like schoolgirl, her life's hard, she's studying, she's bored, she gets sucked into a magical world in a book, that sort of classic thing where she's the hero. And then it's a sort of journey where she has to collect a bunch of people, maybe collect's the wrong word. She has to find a bunch of people who will help her. And it's a very like classic story in that way. And then it sort of starts it with her best friend. She doesn't realize that her best friend also gets sucked into the story. And instead of having a good time, she has a vastly worse experience, and then because of it, it sort of ruins their friendship, and that's sort of really interesting. I've changed my mind, but it's still quite trashy. It's mainly just like how everyone fancies the main character and
right, just all the classic tropes, basically.
Everything. But it meant a lot, and it was the first time I read anything with like character deaths, so that made me cry a lot, actually. Aha.
Definitely. And sorry, I'm not sure you mentioned the title.
Oh, sorry. It was called.
I thought I had just missed it.
I just thought maybe we could all give it a new. It's called Fushigi Yugi, which is the mysterious play. It had a really garbage anime. Sorry if anyone likes the anime adaptation too, which was dubbed in English, but it was bad. So
It
Fushigi Yugi by Yu Watase.
It was really fun following that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And it was just because you're of a certain age and it kind of just influenced you.
It was like an awakening.
Becoming a storyteller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. And so the next question that comes up between the two of you, still in the submarine, you know, all the orphans are asleep and everything after having gone through their daily battle royale viewing.
Indoctrination,
and you ask yourselves, what's the most underrated comic?
I picked one for this. I reread it today. It's a web comic. You know, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. I think it's Latin. Mare Internum by Dashing Helmet. She also did The Meek, which I think is quite well known for a webcomic. And it's this like hard sci-fi story set on Mars about a scientist who's suicidal. It's a lot of fun. And it's sort of like, on the surface, a fun, hard sci-fi romp of like, I don't know, there's a lot of words. When I was reading it the first time now, I'm like, I'm not sciencey enough to understand this. So, but it's got this sort of other thing going on with the characters, and it's sort of this nice exploration of depression. Maybe nice was the wrong word, but
insightful or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe like a lovely ride through a depressive episode. It's really fun. It's funny as well. It opens on the main character getting ready to hang himself, and he's left a little suicide note up on the table, and then he's just about to do it, but the note falls over, so he stops what he's doing to readjust it. I just think that's One, it's very funny, and two, it sort of follows the story arc of he sort of takes any excuse not to go through with the suicide. And then the comic's not finished yet. It's meant to finish this year. But I assume he'll end up better. So he's had a bit of growth so far, and he's sort of changed. There was one line in it that I thought was pretty good, which was from one of the computers. It said, "Did you want to keep trying?" And that's sort of, I think, what the theme of the comic is. And it's really beautiful as well. It's gorgeous. They did a Kickstarter last year, so the book should be in print by the end of this year.
Yeah. Because that did all right, that Kickstarter, didn't it?
Yeah, it did really well.
It did all right.
The more I was reading today, I was like, maybe this isn't that underrated. It's just that the 5 friends I have don't know what it is.
Underrated to them.
Yeah. Actually, it's won some awards and everything. But... Hey, Emily,
but just in the mainstream, I wouldn't have thought it'd been that much heard, and I hadn't come across it before. So
yeah, I think it's really beautiful, and also it's got like this sort of humor injected throughout, which I think, as you may know, we really respond to humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at my list of comics, and they're all quite. I'm not a very well-rounded comic reader, to say the least. It's all quite like aggressive, immature humour.
He said boyish and rude.
Yeah. Which is in other things. I don't really go for those. But in comics, yeah.
Clean as mustard. And Emily, did you have an answer for that?
I didn't. I'm ashamed to say that I didn't. I really thought the things that I liked, people have already know about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No problem. Cool. So the greatest question of all time is for you, both of you. What's the best comic of all time? The most difficult question that we have.
I know. So I decided to just go with a specific comic strip. So it was just this one that Death Bulge did, where he does the hourly ones. He did the one on Halloween. And I picked it mainly because I like his comics. He's a funny boy. But secondly, because it's got the Mega Bus Man in it. So that ticks the box. Sid the Mega Bus Man. Did you know he has a family?
No.
You can Google this. They tried to give him like a wife and kids. And it didn't take long. And if you want to like Google like Megabus mascot, you'll get a lot of really good images of people in various different mascot costumes. It's a fun little hole to go down. So that's fun. And then
like Megabus cosplay.
Yeah, I think most of them are official.
Okay, right.
God, can you imagine like a Megabus con? Like,
oh, amazing!
That'd be amazing.
That'd be so weird.
That would get actually quite a good turnout, I reckon.
We should throw that. I think we should do it in Milton Keynes.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely transport hub.
Yeah, it's all those squares. They love them. Buses and corners.
But yeah, go back to Death Bulge. What is it about it that kind of makes it the best?
Well, so there was that, and then there's also this specific use of that S everyone drew in high school, which is also in our comic. Just have a real affinity for it. You know the one where you start with the 6 lines and then you make it all pointy,
right?
And it's like. There's a Vice article on it and everything. Like, where did it come from? No one knows. But everyone knows how to draw it.
Yeah.
So, on top
Illuminati.
on top of the fact that the jokes are just funny, these extra bits make it my favourite. Because I can really relate.
These obscure little notes.
Yeah, like Megabus S, the sick S. Yeah.
Excellent. Emily, for you.
For me, my favourite, bestest comic of all time on this one is Axe Cop.
Excellent.
I love Axe Cop. To be fair, I haven't read more than the first one that
Only the first one. Oh.
Yeah. Well, the first book. I got the first printed edition. And I just absolutely love it. I just love that. I just love the idea.
Yeah.
It's written by a 5-year-old and drawn by his very talented 29-year-old older brother.
I think they're much older now.
Yeah, but back in the
age
day, it started. I just think it's such a fascinating way to get an insight into a child's mind who's just kind of making sense of the world. And then to have it drawn by his older brother, it just makes it even funnier because he's really good and it just makes the jokes come across really well.
I think it's fun trying to come up with okay, here's your concept. Now I've got to try and make this look like what you've described somehow. And like with kids, they'd be like saying, "Oh, he's 6 foot tall and green," and then 2 minutes later they'll be like, "Blue."
Yes, all the.
I thought you said they were green. Yeah, they are green. Okay.
Yeah. Like he's got Flute Cop, who then gets avocado on him, and then he turns into avocado guy. Avocado soldier, and then something happens with that, and it's just so.
He goes back to Flute Cop for a bit. I think I dropped off when Axe Cop got married. I was like, well.
Oh, you got all the way through to that. Wow. Yeah.
The conclusion. I think that's kind of our approach to our comic of the just whole. None of this really makes sense.
Sure.
But why? Why change that? So
why does that matter?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It's
all fiction.
Exactly. That's what's so liberating with it. And with Axel as well. And I really love there's like a big thing with questions and answers.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I think that's just as interesting. Because again, you're just getting an insight into how he makes sense of everything and how he thinks about things. Like
because it's like what do you do when you're not at work? And he's like, I'm always working.
Yeah. I'm always working. For holiday I just eat a birthday cake with me on. And then I watch movies, which is just me doing fight moves, because they're my fight moves. And then there's one, do you ever pray? And he's like, yes, I pray for the sharks. I wish that you could make them good, because then they could have been in my team. Why are they evil? Please give them legs. And then throw Satan into a lake of fire. Praise the Lord. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Totally fell in love with that. I even did a whole, a very long essay on it at uni.
Oh, did you?
Wow.
Is that what your dissertation was on?
No, couldn't quite do it as a dissertation, but I mean, I could have done.
Could have. I did my dissertation on Sailor Moon, so those were a lot of comics I had to read for my research. That was good. I felt like I was cheating.
Oh.
No, you can't be doing that. I mean, you just because what is it that you did at uni?
We both did illustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's totally relevant.
Totally relevant.
You know. It's all good.
At least yours was related. Mine was on Mexico's relationship with death. I had enough of drawing by that point.
I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, Dave's dead.
I just want to die.
Pretty much.
Amazing. Then it comes down to the last question in regards to comics, and between the two of you, you got to decide which one comic would you keep from this list.
Well, I think we were quite unanimous because we both said Battle Royale. I think in our messed up way, we thought it could be like a handy guidebook on how to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, the more I think that would just be useless because it's all a bit specific, isn't it? Like, none of us have explosives on our head. Or guns.
I think Battle Royale gets a little bit improvised, for sure. Yeah.
Like, what do we do when someone's coming at you with chair leg? And we'll just flip to the chapter. Oh, we shoot them. Thanks, Battle Royale.
There's going to be loads of stuff on that submarine. There's going to be so much that we can play with.
Yeah.
I think it'll be really well-rounded. Have some really well-rounded orphans on that submarine.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
Film. Yeah.
a bit worried that we're gonna sort of like radicalize these children.
yeah, it sounds like you're definitely going to be creating a bit of a battle royale family going on here. Like you've got the manga,
we've got the film,
like repeating the film on a daily basis.
How about then? How about we sneak on birthday? Eh?
As well.
Relaxing. Yeah. I'm really joking.
Is there a bit of creepy man fun? Oh dear. And so we come full circle in terms of your apocalypse situation. And what weapon, tool, or useful item do you bring into the apocalypse with you?
Right. So zombies for me are my number one fear, which is great because they don't exist.
Yeah, and I think the fear will help keep you alive. You know, the
I think so
adrenaline.
too. I think I can just about watch Shaun of the Dead. That's the closest. And I still feel uncomfortable. I love it, but I do feel uncomfortable watching it, and I do have nightmares for about a week. But it's worth it. So my weapon involves the least amount of contact. So my weapon is a brick, but so I can get the brick back, it's attached to a bit of string or something. So I can, and I can also, I guess, use it as some kind of mace.
Yeah, I think this is very, very you, Emily.
It's realistic, isn't it? I'm not going to go, I'm going to get a big machine gun. Where are we going to get that?
In the Legend of Val, in chapter 2, one of them has a brick-on-string weapon, which I'm pretty sure was your idea. So I think this is something you have a real affinity for.
Yeah, I think it solves a lot of problems.
What can't you do with a brick?
I thought as well, if it's if it's like a stabby thing, then they might still be attached to it, and I'd have to
probably
get them off with a brick. There's no issue with that. You're not going to impale someone with a brick, are you?
Instead of a swift end, you just want for a slow, cruel bludgeon.
Yeah.
Take that.
And it's a weapon that anyone can use. It's accessible.
You're going to have to include this in your the last quarter of filming for your Battle Royale film. The brick on a string death. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Who's going to do the stunt? No, we'll get a fake brick made of...
Yeah, I'd get a foam brick. Yeah.
Do you think?
Price of foam might be expensive in a few more months. I've got loads of bricks outside.
We can just use a bunch of kiwis. It's fine.
Yes.
So go-to kiwis and food colouring. Yeah. And Tesco's carrot bags.
Absolutely. I was thinking very literally. So if it happened now, what can I do with what I have in my house? Because obviously, like Emily, I don't want to get too close. I think I'm kind of squeamish and a bit physically weak. So, obviously a gun would be great, but I don't have a gun. So I have a litter picker.
Just as good.
Yeah, so I think I'll grab that, and then I've also got a curtain pole, so I could just tape a kitchen knife to that quick, and then I've got a long-range weapon.
Boom. I would love to see that. Just
combo
person with a curtain pole with a knife on the end and a litter picker.
It's the litter picker in your other hand.
Yeah, so I can use that as a distraction, just pinch them on something in your face, and then I'll just get them round the other side with the knife.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. The litter picker was going to come in handy later. I remember because we were thinking we're in a submarine, right? So we'll need to resurface and go to land occasionally to get stuff. That's where your litter picker gets in handy.
Okay. When we go to those supermarkets on the canal.
Yeah. You just reach out, use the litter picker. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds like you guys have got it sorted. I've got no doubt that you guys are going to definitely survive for a long time in this zombie breakout and do very well with your army of orphans.
really
Yeah.
angry, violent orphans.
Yeah.
Teach them hard knock life.
They're going to be really intense children.
Yeah.
They'll be like a bunch of Spartans. 300.
Trying really hard to get up, love. Right. Bring me another kiwi, then we'll talk.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both so much for sharing your comic choices and your action plan for the zombie breakout. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Been
that's
good fun.
quite all right. And for one last time, where can the listeners find you on the interwebs?
You can find our comic at thelegendofval.com. The Legend of Val is all one word. You can also Google it because it's not a very overused name. And then I think
Apocalyptic as well.
Oh yeah, we're also on tapas.io, which is a comic hosting website, so you can read it there if you want. And then from there, you should be able to find our personal websites with the more boring illustration stuff. Don't look at that.
And then you're also on Twitter and Instagram and whatnot as well.
Yeah. So links to all of those are on the website. So they'll be under Legend of Val on Instagram, and I think it's just me on Twitter. So
excellent. And have you got any other projects coming up apart from the one that you mentioned at the start?
I don't. Do you, Emily?
I do, but not comics. I'm working on a picture book at the moment with someone, and my own picture book too. So doing those on the side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when can people expect to kind of see that out and about?
My aim is to have one of them out this year, hopefully.
Oh.
And the other one, I'm not sure. Maybe about the same, maybe a bit longer. I'm mostly active on Instagram. So on Instagram, I am Emily Illustrates, or Emily Clapham. I think it might come up. I'm so good at the social media. But that's my most active thing. Or I do have a website as well, which is emilyclapham.com. Or is it .co.uk? It's .co.uk.
Oh, there you go.
So sorry.
I think I have your website on the Legend of Val as well.
Oh, cool.
So if you were very confused.
So it's all linked. But for all the listeners, just go to the show notes. All the links will be there, so you can just click straight through.
We run a slick operation here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, yeah.
As slick as a submarine orphanage.
We're very new to the internet.
Yeah, we are apparently.
Yeah, you did used to think it was witchcraft, apparently.
And Emily still thinks it is. How is this heebie-jeebie working? It's through game free all the time, Wi-Fi. Think about it.
Fantastic. Well, again, I really, really appreciate your time, guys. Everybody go check out thelegendofval.com. Are you guys going to any cons this year at all?
I haven't applied for any yet. I will try and get to the London Comic Cons. Beyond that, I'm not sure yet. I have to see what the funds are looking like.
Oh yeah.
But I might have a go at Glasgow or Thought Bubble again, but I'm not sure.
Go with the flow. Follow them on social media. Follow you guys on social media, and I'm sure you'll notify your followers there. So again, Kimberly Fountain and Emily Clapham, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully, we'll cross paths at a con soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks again to Kimberly and Emily for being on Comics for the Apocalypse. It was beyond fun. If you enjoyed the show today, please leave a review for us on iTunes or whichever podcast service you use, as not only will it let me know that you liked it, but I believe that it helps others become aware of the show as well. If you'd like to check out Kimberly and Emily's work or follow them on social media, those links are in the show notes, along with all of our own links to the various areas of the internet. And finally, as long as the apocalypse doesn't come to pass in the next week, I'll see you next Monday. Bye for now.